This is an open letter to Uncle Sam. It's going to be a very short letter about the British. Uncle Sam, you know I love you. But here's the thing about the British, Uncle Sam. The British were your colonizers. You had to have a fucking revolution to start your country. You had to have a revolution to get out of the British sphere of influence, direct influence. Direct sphere of influence of the British. You basically had a revolution to break away. But ever since the British dragged you into World War I and World War II, it seems the British have taken the basically the British have encouraged you to hold on to their old empire, even if it meant by coercive means. Keep the old empire in line, even if it means coercive means, even if it means we have to physically go in and enforce our will. Well, that's a very colonial way of looking at things, that if I, sitting on some other part of this planet, if I do not agree with what's going on in another part of this planet, even if that part is in on the exact opposite side of the planet than me, well, if you make it acceptable for yourself to having to be responsible for a lot of real estate on planet Earth, that increases the expense. That increases the expense of what you don't know apparently, but the British call an empire. Basically, when you have a lot of undue influence, forced influence in a lot of parts of the world, even if it means direct, hand-to-hand combat to show who's the boss, even to that extent is the point of having more real estate under management. Well, the management costs a lot of money. You see what I'm saying? And for those who have it, that's great. But for those who don't, imagine, here's a picture I'm drawing for you, Uncle Sam. That I'm trying to tell you that the black single mother of two had to pay taxes on her job to raise her two. Had to pay taxes, that these taxes didn't go towards a couple of mental institutions so she could live in a more safer society, but no, this money, these taxes have gone to to suppress some cocksucker in the Middle East who wasn't listening. Well, this black single mother of two is not really, concerned with whether that cocksucker over there is listening or not listening. Because whether they were listening or now that they are listening and they didn't used to listen in case of Iraq, now they're listening, it hasn't made a damn difference in this, single mother of two in Georgia. Hasn't made her life any easier from the time that Iraq was listening to the time that Iraq is not listening or wasn't listening and now they're listening. This whole transaction, this real estate forceful real estate transaction that took place was basically not beneficial for or against the single mother of two at the home base. And the single mother of two is thinking that, okay, it's part of my paycheck is going to taxes, but the taxes is not making my street safer for the sake of having some mental institutions. It's not making our street any safer. If the taxes are going and there was a war and it was finished and somebody won, somebody lost, I don't care. But where is my money? I mean, there was a loot, apparently, maybe, and she's thinking, where is the loot? Where is my part of it? And then, if there is no my part of it, then why did we have to undertake such a, expensive endeavor of bringing freedom? Well, when you free a jungle, within the next few days, you're gonna have half your jungle go missing, because it's going to be eaten by the other half, the stronger half. The carnivores would eat the herbivores, and a lot of casualties. You have to understand that systems that have their mental capacity at this point is at this level. I'm sorry, my pink-skinned friends. This is what they understand. But that doesn't mean that you break the stability that was created by some, cocksucker. You don't break that stability just to bring it stability. Okay, it's been 20 years. Do you see any stability? But you say it's the neighbors' bad influence that Iraq has not settled down. No, it's basically like the general in one of these generals said on NPR. It's basically like Russians attacking Canada. Of course, Uncle Sam is gonna help Canada. They don't want they want their neighbor to be on their side, not on the Russian side. So that's their neighborhood. The neighbors want to, have some kind of influence over each other. The Iraqis know that Iran is also not going to do anything that compromises their interest, because, at least they're both Shiite. So the problem is not the Iranians. The problem is, whoever, they're the neighbors, and if they have an agreement, they're cousins, they have agreements to help each other. If the cousins on this side of the border say help, the cousins on that side of the border can't, stick their thumb up their ass. It's a question of, and it's not a question of loyalty, Uncle Sam. I love you, man. It's a question of logic. I love you, Uncle Sam. But this is a question of logic, that there is a question of, the question is this: how can we run a better planet? And the basic logic of it is that, Uncle Sam, if you let the troglodytes evolve at their own pace, and stay under your shining hill and keep the hill shining, so these motherfuckers have a way to move forward. Uncle Sam, if you want to help them in moving forward, all you have to do is send them more tourists. Stop these cruise ships, just because of safety. Say cruises cannot carry more than 500 people at a time. and they cannot, because of traffic, ocean traffic, we cannot have more than a certain number of cruises per the whole business because of ship traffic and pollution, and there's a whole list of things that these extremely large cruise ships, there's a whole bunch of problems that they have regarding pollution. So you can come up with a whole bunch of reasons for the cruise industry to be out of business. Only certain number of ships, and those are no capacity more than 500. And help the rest of the world with taking Uncle Sam's ideas around the world as ambassadors of, let me tell you about individuality. Let the young Americans go to these countries not with guns but as tourists. If this happens and says okay, and give it to the army to run, just basically a recruitment, not a recruitment, not a recruitment, it's a mandate. 2 years everybody goes to serve their nation. I think Americans should too. 2 years, serve the nation, every man. Under the age of 50, whatever. If they put it in, and for those 2 years, no guns. 10% go carry guns. 90%, whoever wants to go carry guns, usually 10% want to. Okay, go carry guns. Whoever doesn't, we pay you the same salary, but you have to live somewhere else. And here's a list. And basically try to, and especially the list should be the list of the countries that you don't like, don't understand. You want more of your people there to try to understand them. It's a local that you don't understand. Some of these locals you're controlling by force through third parties, i.e. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, blah, blah, blah. And pick one of the tribes and let them declare themselves king, and okay, take care of the other fucking 500 tribes. That's one way to go. And then some of these tribals around the world, such as the fucking Iranians and the fucking Turks, and they have some kind of they have some kind of commitment to the land that they were born on, so their commitments are a little stronger, so there's more headache. Okay, you want to understand them, send them tourists. Send them tourists. Who are these tourists? These are people who want to go, and you can subsidize their travel. Because whoever you have problems with, Uncle Sam, why send them soldiers around their thing? As an empire, I love empires, as long as empires are run by intelligent men who understand that if you want to export your civility, you can't export it at the end of a fucking gun. If you want to export your civility, if you're insisting on saying that we are better, this we are better cannot be, this message does not go on a fucking gun. It goes on a beach umbrella. The message of we are better than you goes into their country with tourists as beach umbrellas. Your tourist is in their country spending money, helping the local economy. That's good. That's good for Uncle Sam. Because it keeps that shithole stable. So Uncle Sam doesn't have to go spend a lot of money to war with that shithole. You see what I'm saying? Not only you have to, Uncle Sam, you have trouble anywhere in the world, you have to send your people there as tourists more, encourage them, subsidize their travel. Even, the draftees from the army, instead of carrying guns, rifles, they should be recruited to be sent as tourists. Go over there and just collect intelligence. Just living as a tourist for 2 years in a third country, in a second country, just gives you such a, and you're getting paid doing it. It's like Uncle Sam is signing a check saying that, okay, this check for the soldier and this check for the tourist of his age, same draftee. People can choose. They can either join, carry rifles or carry beach umbrellas. Here's the same check every month. Uncle Sam pays if you get your fucking beach umbrella and go and live in Chad, Nigeria. Go live in Nigeria. Where do we have trouble? Where Uncle Sam doesn't have? Where is it that Uncle Sam it seems to have a difficulty communicating, understanding each other? Always seems to be getting on the wrong foot. It's either a very wrong foot like Trump or normal wrong foot like Clinton and Biden. It seems it becomes sort of like, okay, why don't we no agreement, okay, fuck, no agreement, we don't agree what we want to do with you, but we like to have better understanding. I will send you 10,000 tourists a year. I will send you 10,000 tourists a month to your country. They come over there, take care of them. Whatever tourists want, provide them. They're coming over there, they're spending Uncle Sam's money. They were soldiers, we sent them as tourists. If you agree with this, Iranians, if you agree with this, sign here. Because why? Because we want to get a better understanding of you. And we don't want to do it with spies. Why do it with spies? Why fucking pay somebody to, listen, through a wall, if you can just open a door and say, okay, everybody in, send 5,000 tourists a month to subsidize, the travel. See, what the fuck is these people's problem? See, what part of it we don't understand. Where is the miscommunication here? If you do this, Uncle Sam, I think within a year you have a lot of cousins in both countries. A lot of marriages in both countries. Tension reduces. Tension reduces. Do you want the tension to reduce? This is the way. More talking, more traveling, more trading, becoming more interdependent. That reduces the tension. But if you want war, yeah, of course, more tension. Less talking, less speaking, less sitting down, less shaking hand, less. Well, I mean, sticking to a deal would be a good idea. That shows good faith. Because in this idea of bad cup, good cup, bad cup, oh, we had a bad cup, now it's a good cup, but the deal is a bit tighter. No, we had a, and who determines? I mean, why? You can trust the Pakistanis with the atomic weapons, but you can't trust the Iranians? Iranians were the peacekeepers because they were on if you let the Iranians have been trying to keep the peace within their own property for the past 30-40 years, of which you, Uncle Sam, have been trying to break that peace, have been trying to, knocking on that door of, trying to deal with somebody else. We don't want to deal with these motherfuckers. Why? I mean, has it happened? Did you do such thing of encouraging more communication to see what the problem is with these motherfuckers? If you do that, it becomes clear. These motherfuckers want exactly the same thing as Uncle Sam wants, peace. Because they were the peacekeepers of the bottleneck of the Silk Road ever since geography, ever since, Homo sapiens came around, geography hasn't changed. So from the time of like the first Homo sapiens who had any kind of intelligence, that would be about a couple of million years ago, so far that has been determined. Ever since then, this geography has been that, and the people who have been living that fucking place on the bottleneck of the Silk Road had this job of keeping peace. Even when they had to expand the empire, they didn't expand the empire to colonize, that is to have more of their people on that land. No, they expanded the empire in the direction of the Silk Road, try to make more of it secure under one, under one rule, but not by force, as it has been mentioned even by my Jewish friends, that the Iranians' job, whether pre-Islam, after Islam, this Islam thing is not, relevant. The job of the people, the mindset of the people who are living there on the bottleneck of the Silk Road, these motherfuckers, their job was keeping the peace, because they could eat only if the Silk Road remained open. They made a lot of money. That was their income. That's why Iranians are so welcoming of outsiders. They're so welcoming because they feel it's their, that's how they live, how they make their living. This is the bottleneck of the Silk Road. So they are for peace. Trying to keep peace around the Silk Road has been their job ever since whoever decided to stay in this shithole, in this crossroad, in this bottleneck. Whoever decided to stay there is a hardhead, very attached to the land, in need of keeping it peaceful, safe. That's exactly what Uncle Sam wants. Well, then what's the problem here? It's just a matter of, okay, who is in charge of this peacefulness? Okay, they're local. Uncle Sam, you can be in charge, but it's going to be very expensive. Because, on that side, keeping order so far away from the center is very expensive. It's like, all kinds of businesses have the same problem. Keeping order in faraway distances was difficult. That's why it couldn't happen until now that, through internet you can keep order in very far off places. But the point is this, Uncle Sam, you just have to, miscommunication? Send more people there, tourists. And say, okay, we will talk about the nuclear situation. Let's not talk about that right now. I just want to send you tourists. Is that okay? And the Iranians, I'm sure they're going to say, yeah, of course, normal people, please send them. Send 5,000 tourists a month from your soldiers. Just send them. Send young people. Draft age people, just send them over there. Hey, you're tourists. Stay there 3 months, come back. Then stay back home 3 months, then you, whatever, go to another country. But the point is this, just send these people to, as tourists. I'm sure these countries that have a misunderstanding with Uncle Sam, it's just by more communication between your people and their people, there will be less misunderstanding. More business, then you sit and talk after your people have become cousins. After a decade, you can then sit down and say, okay, what's the problem with nuclear weapon? I have a feeling after a decade, the Iranians are basically, a lot of, they have no problem. They probably wouldn't want it. It's like, why would we want it if we have, so much generosity from Uncle Sam in terms of these tourists and in terms of the business that comes with the tourists. And in terms of, then there is no misunderstanding. There's so many people talking that, you know, a lot of your people know what the fuck is the problem with them, and a lot of their people cannot really, you know, draw a very bad picture of you if all they see from you is love, Uncle Sam. If all they see from you is love, they cannot draw a bad picture of you. So show some love. I could be wrong. I'm often wrong. I'm often wrong. Maybe wrong this time too. Who knows? Love you, Uncle Sam.